Hello, Dust Suckers. Welcome again to a new episode. This is the episode number 4 of the Dust Suckers. And today we're going to discuss again something we believe is interesting for you. So, hello, Joy. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, good. Oh, good. Thanks, Ramon. How are you?
I am really good. Thank you. I didn't sleep in the whole weekend. My kids were like annoying as hell, but we are made of some other kind of parents vitamin or strength or something secret. So yeah, trying to trying to start the morning like with some power.
Yeah. When once you have, I must admit that once we had our first child, my sleep changed drastically because every little sound you hear when you have the first baby, you wake up, and that never, I never lost that.
Absolutely, it's something to get used to it. Everybody says that starting from the 5th year, then you're going to sleep again. So it's like basically if you think about having kids and you're not going to sleep properly for 5 years, it's like 15 years of your life expectancy is going to hell because because of those five.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So let's go straight to the neck. Um, what kind of digital world we expect in the next? Well, we are already, but what kind of if we think about CBDCs and digital passports and digital healthcare and digital version of ourselves, everything digital, what comes to your mind first?
yeah, it's. I mean, there's a lot of discussions going on now about artificial intelligence, of course, and Chat GPT and all those things, and it kind of brings the discussion forward because it makes people think more about or extrapolate more. You know, where could this go in 10 years from now? And then you've got the World Economic Forum also explaining, where they see life going, and a lot of people don't actually like what they see. Then you've got Black Mirror. You know Black Mirror, right? The show on Netflix. I haven't seen the last
Oh
season,
yeah.
but it's one of those confronting views of what the future could look like, and it just scares the hell out of us. What is it going to do with individual freedom? Are we going to be behind screens all the time?
For me, the 2 episodes that blew my mind the most of Black Mirror was I think one of the first ones where there is a girl making her life like waking up and having her coffee and checking her social media, and first thing that she checked is that her own rating as a person, right? So basically, he walks around and he has. I guess I don't remember that clear enough, but I think she has some kind of sort of glasses, like maybe Google Apple Vision Pros or something similar, where she actually sees other people rate while she's walking. So basically, uh, you imagine that the rating goes through how much you earn, how you don't have any police tickets or police fines from, I don't know, traffic, speeding tickets or whatever, things like this, or tax issues, or nobody has complained about you, things like this, right?
Yeah.
And this was crazy because there is a moment that she wants to go to one restaurant, and I think the restaurant says like starting from 4.6 rating, and she has 4.5. So she can't go. She has to do something else to achieve 4.6 and go back. So that was like, what the fuck in my head. And the other one, there was an episode where some nano bees were created that they could technically go in through your nose or your ear or yeah, one of your holes, essentially.
Hopefully not one
And
of those painful ones. Yeah.
yeah, hopefully nothing of those. Luckily, in the first world we use clothes, but maybe
Yeah.
in some place of the world they can actually go through anything. But yeah, uh, the point was that those bees were getting into people's ears, and they were made of like nano metal, nanotechnology in general, and then they were exploding inside. That was like, whoo, hey, this is
Mm.
like something basically you can't control. You, if you are like sleeping or you are driving and then some of those beers come, you are out like that. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
question about that.
It's a scary thought, isn't it? And I've also been trying to put pieces together, and I did write some things about this in my book, but not much, not in detail actually. But the pharmaceutical industry is working on moving technology into the body in the end. So it will be, you think about vaccination, for example, think about pills that you could take, and pharmaceutical companies getting data reported back from your body, basically. Think about that you inject a piece of technology, a sensor or something, that into your body, that basically tells a pharmaceutical company or a doctor or whoever what your cholesterol level is, your blood pressure, and all those things. Now combine that with things like the Apple Vision. Combine that with with a lot of other technologies that you see. Google Glass was there as well. Imagine you could see other people with similar technology. You could know immediately whether their heart rate is going up. When they see you, you could see whether they're attracted to you, whether they're scared of you, what effect it has on you. uh, any interaction could change. You could literally measure whether the other person is lying or not.
This is crazy. What you say now is like a year ago. Yeah, around a year ago, I was talking to one investor that investor and CEO of one company, and then he told me that, hey, I'm looking for contacts in the med tech, medical industry technology startup world, and because as you know, I've been working my ass quite a lot, so I have a lot of connections around the world, and sometimes people ask me these kind of things. So I was like, yeah, I will try to find something for you. What you are doing in your startup? And he says for me, we have built a device that when somebody has an accident or a critical medical condition, we will put it in your chest, just in the first, when the first um, help comes, like the ambulance arrives. Of course, they will try your everything they can, but the goal is that this device will be stuck in your chest and will collect like crazy amount of data streams, heart rate, blood. I don't know how.
Hmm.
Don't ask me that. But the point is that their goal was to hyper connect the person with the ambulance and the ambulance with the hospital. So in the first second, the patient or the person who is hurt will actually flow that data into the machine. The hospital already knows what to do. Will be able to choose the better technique to heal that person and the ambulance in their with their means in that moment also. So if that was already a conversation of years of developing a year ago, imagine that now we are kind of diving into having all of this inside our body.
Yeah,
So it's like it's so mind blowing. It feels for me that we really are becoming like a hybrid human beings in less than 50 years. Because
yeah,
if you think about how much we have gone from 0 to 100 as a civilization from the past century, in just 120 years, we have fuck up and make
yeah,
everything that looks like impossible, it's happening. And all the movies have been like nothing compared to reality. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's digitizing not only your health but also your brain, basically, and measure, being able to measure everything. That is actually the biggest scare, because it turns us, we are unique creatures, humans. We have emotions like no other being. I mean, of course dogs have emotions. I mean, when my dog walks in and he wants to be petted, of course I know that dogs are emotional creatures, but not in the same way that we respond. And we are very complex creatures, and we have the possibility now with technology to kind of like measure that, and almost like have decisions taken, that take us away from being two emotional creatures. And it scares me. It's I don't know where this is going to go, to be honest, but I like personal freedom. I like, us to decide whatever we can do, and measuring everything, I don't know.
Yeah, there is that line of what separates us from the beauty of the world right now and the beauty of life, and how much technology can take a part into this. From my perspective, I feel that we are kind of if this would be a stock market chart, we as a human beings, we would be oversold maybe. we are we are like kind of reaching that like level that everybody has through
Yeah,
something into the same space. Everybody wants to buy the same road. Everybody wants to buy digitalization and control and real-time monitoring, every single aspect of it. And when I think about it, I like some of the things because I love technology and I love to use it properly. But when it comes to your freedom, man, no, 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 no. Hold on, hold your
yeah,
horses. Like, what the hell are you gonna do? What's your opinion into the CBDCs, for example?
yeah. So connecting that to the financial world, it makes it very interesting as well, because having that digital innovation that's more and more becoming prominent in our lives, and especially the climate change movement. Of course, you could link everything to your. You could basically monitor your actions. That means that CBDC could monitor whatever you buy, whatever you use. It could monitor how much I drive in my fueled car or my diesel fueled car. It could measure whether I take planes 10 times a year. And if a government says this is very dangerous and only we are allowed, we as politicians are allowed to do that, then there's little you can do about that, because they could, with a CBDC, they could stop you from doing certain transactions. It's
Yeah,
programmable money, and I think many have already spoken about this before. It's programmable money, so you could, as a government, you could decide who gets to spend money on what, and that by itself is something that we should not allow to happen for the next generation, which is your little girl there, and your and our children in general. That's my view, at least.
yeah. That scares me the fuck out of it when I think about like my kids and the world that we know, because our generation and mine and yours, like even we have almost 10 years difference, we are pretty close into like we got to know life as it was, like
Mhm.
as with the minimum amount of technology, right? We lived without cell phones. We lived without any internet. We lived with cash money. We lived with like just a basic function of life, right? And
Yeah,
when I think about uh, this comes already to my the stories that I will retell to my kids when they are 30, when they are approx our age now. I will have to tell like, yeah, when I born, there wasn't telephones, there wasn't internet, and we were just having totally okay lives. We used to call the landline to the house and ask the persons how you are. We used to spend like some times of the week, some hours of the week in the corner of the house, in the living room, speaking with our relatives, how are you, and this and that. And the telephone was ringing at home. It was like
yeah,
something incredible to do. But more than that, what I wanted to, or besides this, that I just got to my head or got stuck in my head, you were talking about programmable money. When I think about programmable money, of course, the first thing comes to me is what you explained, that okay, you have been driving too much, or you have been over. Imagine that it will be like this: you are one day driving, and then there comes one pop up notification in your uh, Vision Pro or your brain or something, and says like, "Hello, Ramon, you have overpassed your emissions rate for the month. You should now do something to take the become carbon footprint negative." For example, what you can do,
yeah,
you can run an hour, you can pay more tax, you can, I don't know, you can eat only vegan this week, and then next week you maybe are equal. Think about this. And also this also blows my mind a lot. If the money is programmable, the value of the money is programmable also. Think about that. Some countries or some viruses, cyber attacks, everything can be into devaluating the currency of some country, for example. Do I'm right
Yeah,
or
yeah.
not?
I guess. I mean, I guess everything. If it's one big network, it can be hacked. You know, I don't know if you followed the news in the weekend of the. Of course, there's been a lot of talk about the power grid getting hacked in the U.S. Not only in the U.S. but even Klaus Schwab warned for this, that in future we could see a situation that makes the pandemic look like child's play, where the electric grid gets hacked and you don't have electricity anymore, and you basically the internet is gone, banking is gone, and imagine what life would look like. And I know that, of
That's
course,
a dystopian.
it's a
Dystopian.
dystopian. Well, I remember. I mean, I always remember some of the disasters, and you must have. I think everyone will have this. You probably have this as well. There are certain of these disasters that happened in the world, like earthquakes, floods, and so on. The tsunami in Indonesia was one, or in Asia was one of them on Christmas. There was some of the earthquakes, and sometimes with the earthquakes, like in Turkey, for example, you will see that afterwards there's no drinking water availability. There's no electricity. So you're basically under the rubble in a city that's collapsed. What do you do?
Wow.
What do you do? Because you have no electricity, you have no drinking water, there's no food, there's no shops, there's no one selling anything. So you
Mm.
depend on others basically coming in, charities basically to help you. And that's the kind of scenario that, you know, we're scared of. It gives you nightmares, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gives you so much nightmares, and this got me thinking. Like many, sometimes I actually didn't think specifically in the scenario that you are now placing, but I do think about if you live in the countryside, for example, apart from many things, from the city life, you have at least access to nature, and you can hunt or you can fish or you can grow vegetables, and depends, okay, depends on which part of the world you are. Maybe the flood doesn't affect you that much.
Hmm.
And like in all the dystopian movies, all of them, there is people who's living in the countryside. The cities are dead because there's nothing growing there.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm in the right place in Finland because mostly 99% of this country is forest.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's so scary to think about it. And I also remember it in the same time you were speaking about. I met one guy from Portugal actually, who, well, I don't give that much details about him because that would be too much advertising now. But the guy had an idea to build one device, portable device, to place it in the third world locations, and the device would actually purify water, and would has built on in it one hydroponic system to grow plants faster and with the good nutrients and so on, and it will be powered itself. So imagine the kind of container that you place it in a place, you open it, and there's a solar powered thing, and there is even a water pump and a system that takes the water from the oxygen and blah blah blah. These kind of things, if the world is coming to one of this Klaus Schwab paranoia where the grid goes down. By the way, I hate that man.
No, no,
Um,
most people do. Yeah, he looks like the German villain that you see in movies, right?
he's just like a horrible person. I don't know. I'm so sorry for him, but maybe he's a wonderful dad or grandfather in the closed doors. But what he shows to the world is like the evil in the person.
Hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, this kind of devices could bring actually some sort of warranties to people to continue their life during a blackout. But the question is, if the grid is hackable, what drives to hack the grid?
Yeah, I think the
If
motive. Yeah, I think the motive would be to disrupt societies, right? I mean, that's the motive.
Yeah, but why? Like the question is why? Like why? If you think about like, let's put the example also of Corona with the vaccines and people who want to vaccine and people who don't want to vaccine and people who believe that is a the greatest experiment on earth just to test how human beings are controllable, or people who just don't believe that, who just believe that a disease, like it's said. For what would be the purpose or the real purpose? What's the North Star? Someone who hack the electric grid needs to have a North Star. Okay, by doing this in 1 year, I'm going to have a civilization who is whatever. What do you think would be that? I really have a hard time understanding this.
Um, I think the only there's two parties that could probably do it. That's foreign governments and it's your own government basically, and your own government. The only motive that would be there, and this is very almost like a tinfoil hat, but it would be to offer an alternative later on. And normally you put people in a position of fear to offer an alternative later on that will take that fear away. And if it's a foreign government, then it would be to basically crash an economy. That could be so that you basically don't allow a country to grow its economy, which means that less tax income and so on. So you starve a foreign government from tax income. But okay, this is all guessing. And I think we've never been in a situation where a power grid has been hacked. And the fact that so many people are suddenly talking about it is very strange, in my opinion. Why does this suddenly come up? And where did they get the information that there is an intention of anyone to hack a power grid? To be honest, I don't really
Uh,
understand.
I don't know, but when there is always some sort of noise into news like this, it's gonna happen.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, they say, right?
Yeah, yeah. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah, yeah. In
Yeah.
Spain, we say, how is it? Yeah. Si el río suena, agua lleva. That means that if the river sounds, there's water flowing, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's something like this, right? Fuck, but think about. Yeah, I know this. By the way, this podcast is not for kids. We are explicit, especially me, who sometimes I need to emphasize words by using F words because I think they are part of our lives. So I just drop them like this. By
Yeah.
the way, this episode is sponsored by StreamYard.
Yeah, no, this is the first time I'm using this. I think it
Yeah,
works well.
thank you, StreamYard. It's the first time we are using you. We are so happy that we can actually watch ourselves. How it will be like this? Yes. Hello. No, other way.
Oh, I'm mirrored. Yeah.
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 So, so yeah, we will surely pay the rate for for the next ones,
Yeah.
maybe or maybe
To
not.
take the
Let's see.
duck to take the duck out of the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to take that dog. Where is it? Over there
Yeah.
or somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one thing. If this becomes like this kind of a big anarchy one day, then I'm thinking like, okay, so Bitcoin is the money that we're going to be using. But if there is no internet, we will have to have some sort of power to power the Bitcoin. So there should be a way to make offline transactions with Bitcoin. That would be amazing.
Yeah. I think you'll probably see that. I think what's going to happen is eventually, and in my opinion, this is something we cannot avoid. There's going to be a trend of going off grid. I've already seen solar power systems that you can actually buy, and they're not super expensive, a couple of thousands of euros, up to 10, sometimes 10,000 euros. And you could actually take your house off grid. Now, I know solar power is not ideal and it's not always, it depends on where you live, and in certain places it might not work. I know there's a lot of people that are very negative about solar power. The point is that there is a trend of developing such systems, because I think when you're at the end of a long-term economic cycle, you all become a little bit complacent, right? We all assume that the supermarkets are always full, the electricity is always running, water is there. It's all like children these days that are born into a world where all these things are like, we take them for granted. And normally in society, if you look through history, when you're in that stage wherever you take everything for granted, normally a trend, something happens that actually takes that security away and puts you in a situation of chaos. Very often these are nasty situations, but it's necessary because you go from autumn to winter, and then spring comes again. That's normally like, it's like a seasonal cycle, right? A long-term cycle. I think we need to
Wow.
be prepared for this. To be honest, I think that's
Yeah,
long-term.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. I am a huge defensor of this solar power. I spent 4 years, 3.5 years of my life into that business, and I have in my family's how is it, cottage land.
Yeah.
There we have an installation of 3.5 kilowatts of solar energy. It's now like 12 years old already, so we are like very common users of solar energy in Mallorca. Um, for my surprise, up in Finland, people also start to use it a lot because, from the business perspective, you get a lot of sun in the summer. So think about, there's like maybe 20 hours of light versus uh, 12 in the southern hemisphere, or more south, let's say, in the almost to the center. Um, and it does make it finally not that different from the profitability from, for example, Spain or Portugal, if you compare to Finland, because in Finland in the summer we have a lot of hours, but in the winter that's super problematic. There is just a little bit hours, and you don't get enough to the to do the things you need to do when there is sun. The solar energy, you have two ways to use it. Either you take the energy from the sun and storage it, and then
Mhm.
from the storage batteries you do something. But then if your installation or your batteries are full, you can take straight away the energy and take a consumption mechanism to use immediately the energy that is being demanding. For example, if I in Mallorca, in my land, if I want to clean the water of the swimming pool and I don't have any other thing at home which is running, I will put it in the hours of maximum sun, because
Yeah.
then those 1,400 watts will work purely on solar power, purely in the peak of sun taking, let's say, and it won't cause any low peak or anything. I won't lose any battery because I won't use the
Yeah.
batteries for that. So it's very clever to use it when there is sun, but either sorry, even if we are transitioning to a model where in the future we generate our own energy, and that's what they want, um there it's not enough. There is really places in the world that there is not sun enough, and then you have to have combined things, and things are more, let's say, much more expensive to run in a small scale
Yeah.
for a home. Let's think
Yeah.
about a home.
No, but it could also be that we need to live differently, right? I mean, I as you know, I live in Portugal now. Portugal is if people think about Portugal, they basically think about a beautiful place with sun, the most sunshine in Europe and all that. And yes, that is true. But winters here are very humid. So what you get is you get fungus in the houses. In a lot of houses are not well insulated, so you get a lot of fungus in the houses.
Mm.
If you do the laundry in December, it in the house, outside the house, it will not dry. It basically it just doesn't dry. So what you get is you get all this laundry, and your children will come to you say, "Why is my shirt that I need to wear to school? Why is it so smelly?" So you basically are forced almost to use a dryer. Now a dryer is a huge energy consumer, right? So you're trying to find creative solutions of how to okay, I see that there's a lot of people here in Portugal that actually still hang their laundry outside because still better than inside the house
Yeah.
in winter. But you need to basically find creative solutions because uh, the dryer here it costs you probably €100 a month extra basically running a dryer regularly.
I know that all my years living in Spain, we had the same, and that's why Italy, Spain, Portugal are places where streets are sorry, in the streets you see people's clothes hanging from
Yeah,
underwear, from shirts, that there's nothing else to do.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I remember I was in France a month ago, and I was in Nice, and then I was in Monaco, and in another place called Toulon or Toulon.
Mm.
And even in Monaco, where it's like, it's Monaco, and all the billionaires are there, and even there, the apartments that are in the city, they were had hanging clothes drying. And
Yeah,
I don't know what's the price of electricity in Monaco. I have no idea. But there was this, and I saw it as a surprise because in Italy, it's very common that in those kind of very narrow streets, people has these kind of long sticks where they attach the head of the
yeah.
row and they put it in the other side.
It's beautiful.
So
Yeah, yeah,
it's crazy. So they can
yeah,
actually like, I don't know. Maybe you are walking in the street and you get somebody's underwear in your head one day, but it's totally okay.
yeah, yeah.
So we had all of this in Spain for all my life, and I remember in Mallorca one full how is it, laundry in my house.
Hmm.
It would take 24 hours to dry. You know how much takes in Finland? 4 hours.
4 hours. Yeah, yeah.
Without in sorry 4 hours in summer without any electricity. If
Hmm.
it's in winter, it takes like 6 hours inside the house, because if you want to
Hmm.
dry it, you just put the like this, I don't know how it's called, this device where you hang the clothes,
Yeah,
classic device that everybody has at home. So it takes like more than half, because the climate is so dry, and the houses has this system of ventilation that the humidity goes away, and then there is new air coming, and you don't open any window. Have you heard
yeah,
about that?
yeah, yeah. I think there's a, but I think it depends on where, it very much depends on where you live, right, with the climate and what we see here. It's it can reach up to 90% humidity in wintertime. So again, this is like one of those innovations that is required actually to actually solve local issues, and that's something that we need to look into because if you want to stimulate off-grid living, these are the kinds of issues that need to be solved.
Absolutely, absolutely. We need to we need to be able to have underwear for tomorrow, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yeah, very important.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Well, there is a space for that, like for startups and innovators, movers and shakers. Let's
yeah,
define the new generation of clothes dryer, or how is it called? Is it how you call it? Is it
yeah,
clothes
dryer. Yeah,
dryer? Yeah,
yeah,
dryer. Yeah, because we are the dust suckers. I was confused. Is it called air sucker or something like this?
yeah. I don't think we've never explained it, but dust sucker is basically the Dutch word literally translates to the Dutch word for vacuum cleaner. I'm
Yeah.
not sure whether we actually explained that before.
Well, I don't know if it's plain, but it was fun because we were planned to be called something else, and
Yeah,
then we were trying to be called from the ashes, but then we realized there's a good podcast about it, totally different, but we didn't just want to mix it, so we went there. And the funny thing is that you and me, we were thinking like, okay, what does the how the dust is cleaned, no? And then right then we were like, okay, from a vacuum cleaner. Then you say, do you know how it's called in Dutch, the
mm,
dust sucker? Then we were laughing a lot, and guess what? Every single friend from the Nordic countries I have who I've been telling this story has been saying like, what the fuck? Also in Norway, also in Sweden, also in
yeah,
here. There is something in the Nordic corner of Europe that you don't call it vacuum cleaner, you call it dust sucker. So
Yeah,
so funny.
our languages are very similar indeed. Yeah, that's definitely true. So we a lot of the when I see Swedish or Norwegian or not Finnish, actually Finnish completely different, but or Danish, then I can normally recognize many of the words, and vice versa as well.
Yeah, in Finland we are something apart of the rest of the planet
Yeah,
with the language. It's crazy, but I'm so proud that I made so much. I advanced so much with this, and it's crazy when you are nearly to the 40s and learn a new language. It's like your brain is like it's like in steroids all the time. It's
yeah,
crazy.
it's tough. It's really tough. I mean, I have to say with Portuguese here, it's really tough to learn. But at the same
Yeah,
time, people appreciate it, and I think if for those people who wish to live abroad, I would say always try to learn the language wherever you live, because it's such a missed opportunity if you don't learn the language, and it's just great, and it stimulates your brain as well. It keeps you from getting all kinds of memory issues later on in the past, later on in the future. Sorry.
absolutely. That's crazy good. And by the way, one thing I was wishing to bring in this conversation, but we because we are so natural, we are just diving in here and there. Um, but about the digital world and digital identity and all that, there's one thing that I have in my head and I can't get it out of it. And maybe it's because I have ADHD that I get stuck
Mm.
with things and I can't uh, easily get them out. But it's the point of Elon Musk was talking about like I don't know, not yesterday or this week, like 2 months ago, was talking about lifespan, and then he was talking also about artificial intelligence and Neuralink in his company Neuralink. And he basically was saying that in order to the society to thrive, we need to die. That has to happen. We have to die. Yes or yes. And in the same time, he was kind of contradicting himself, or maybe well, maybe not 100% sure. I'm not as clever as him, but I didn't understood why he put in the same conversation that Neuralink can increase the lifespan, and also AI could help us to have a digital version of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So my Ramon's paranoid vision moment, woohoo, right now. Is it possible? Do you see possible that the information that is in our brain, which is based on electricity, will be one day downloaded into a device that can storage all of that data and can be a conscious
We're going
and
back to Black Mirror, right?
yeah,
There's
yeah, I'm going back.
literally one episode in Black Mirror
But think
where,
about think about because you essentially your body could die,
yeah,
but you're never gonna die. And if you are built it in a machine, you could have also the ability to see without needing to eat, without needing to do anything. So here here is the thing, that as a civilization, what science and science of understanding the universe that we are not capable to understand, because everybody says that, yeah, you will never, the universe is like infinite, you can never finish it, but try to understand that in your head. It's like
yeah,
fucking impossible. It's like, yeah, but one day has to end. No, but one day, and then you get stuck there because it never will end. It's like
yeah,
really complicated to understand. So life and digital intersection where they cross together, you are like, okay, so if my body dies and my conscious leaves, how the hell this works? Like,
yeah.
I
It's a good
don't.
question. Yeah, it's a very good question. Yeah, it's something that we don't have the answer to, of course, but I think. I think talking, coming back to your earlier comment about Neuralink and about how Elon Musk might have been contradicting himself, um, confronting people with their death is normally not a good business model. Um, there's hardly any money to be made there. Making them want to live longer is a good business model. It's everyone is fighting time in their lives, and
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I think he's one of those guys that has a helicopter view, of course, and he knows that. Um, well, in a way, he's also worried about not about the demographic crisis that's coming, right? So he's afraid of the birth figure being so low that at some stage the aged populations will die out. There will not enough children will be coming, and then you'll have lower population growth, even negative population growth at some stage in this century, which is going to happen because look at Japan, look at China, look at Russia. All these countries are seeing their population figures drop at some stage. Um, so yeah, then you need to do something. And so I think people living longer doesn't necessarily have to be an issue. It just means that you cannot retire at 65, 67 anymore, but maybe at some stage you will become 80. And maybe we'll still be playing paddle tennis and football at 80. And there's no issue with that as long as we don't have a huge overpopulation. And that's something that I'm sure he's got a better idea of than I do.
Yeah, that's probably why he's dreaming of Mars. The I just try to I've been trying to understand, like, I feel that Elon Musk really wants to be the like in the first batch of persons who is going to move to Mars. Really, I have this thing in my head. Maybe one day it will prove me wrong or will prove me right. I hope this episode serves for that. But I think it's going to be like one of the first, and I don't see it that far away because he's really like committed to that, and he explains the population collapse theory really well.
Mm-hmm.
And now the increasing conversation of AI killing all of us in 10 years, like what the fuck? This is getting really serious. And yeah, I think everyone who is thinking a little bit on where the world is going should a little bit take a little bit attention into this. At least
Yeah.
it's my opinion.
The only problem is that if you've got a guy like Elon Musk running the planet on Mars, running society on Mars, it will just become a second Earth with a lot of technology. I think, to be honest, I think you need a bunch of hippies to run it. I think you need a bunch of people that actually want to connect with nature. There's no nature there, but maybe they can grow it. I'm not sure. But if you get one of these tech heads basically to run society there, yeah, it will just turn into a second Earth and maybe even worse. Who knows?
But you are right in one thing, but I think you have missed also one of the I would say special behavior traits of Elon Musk, that he's just such a naturalist in the end. He's very techy. He's so white because he never takes the sun. He's always fucking typing something in the computer or thinking or
Yeah.
writing or meeting somebody. But he has tried psychedelic mushrooms. He has smoked weed in a podcast with Joe Rogan, the one and only. And he's always speaking about when he do that, that it's kind of connected to the nature and blah blah blah, because all of these experiences seemingly are taking humans close to the nature and blah blah blah. So I think he's not that um de-souled, that he don't have soul, or
Yeah,
the
but
soul
does he
is
does he actually walk in the forest in the weekend? I mean,
naked.
taking eating mushrooms is one thing, of course, but walking in a forest or going just chilling on the beach, or going kayaking on a river, that's the kind of stuff that I don't see him doing, to be honest. But maybe I'm wrong. I read his book though, but I think he's a hard worker and he's not too connected with offline life, I think.
You know what? We're gonna call this episode Elon Musk walk naked in the forest. and
Yeah,
and Elon, my our friend, we love you. If you ever listen this, we just want to know more about your free time, how you spending
send
it
us
in
a
the
photo of yourself naked in the forest.
I can picture it already, how it would be. Hey, amazing conversation. Thank you, Joy, because I think speaking with you with these kind of topics, we have discovered also a new way of podcasting, because we haven't plan that much this. We just throw the topic. So we talk about the topic, and it brings wonderful conversations. There is also one thing that I like to do, that in the end of this podcast, we check a little bit how it's been the finance week and blah, blah, blah. One of the things that has been blowing my mind is that the fund BlackRock, the evil BlackRock that owns everything, is been announcing some collaboration with Coinbase to release an ETF based on Bitcoin. I don't know for you, but this brings to my head that I'm long on Bitcoin and I'm long on Coinbase. What's
Mhm.
your take?
I think if you follow social media, which you do, of course, and most people do, you'll see two opposing views. You see the Bitcoin bulls stating this is incredibly bullish. Imagine the amount of money flowing into Bitcoin. It makes it possible for professional investors to invest money into this sector. It legalizes it basically. That sounds like a positive. On the other hand, if you look at BlackRock and the effect they've had on housing markets, for example, how they of course they have the ability with the funds they have to really monopolize industries, and they've done that in housing markets. They're not monopolists in housing markets, but they basically own everything. BlackRock, Vanguard, they own everything. For those who don't know, the suspicion is, even though the fund holders, the investors in BlackRock and Vanguard funds, the biggest ones are supposed to be the richest families in the world that have been dominating the planet for many years, like the Rothschilds and so on, and the Rockefellers and so on. Because
This is
they
this
they
is
don't
like this. Yeah, sorry, sir.
yeah because they stay anonymous by investing in those funds, because you can remain anonymous. You're not a shareholder directly. If you're a shareholder, then it needs to disclose your funds, right? So then it becomes public information. If you buy a fund, you can actually remain anonymous. So the biggest money that's behind that, and we're talking trillions and trillions and trillions, are the people that are not on the list of 10 richest people in the world. The people that are really rich are not on those lists actually, and that's because they're investing in those funds.
Crazy. This is bringing to my head this is it
Bilderberg.
Bilderberg group. And then also I heard something about the white hats or something like that they are like kind of this type of organization where only like the billions of the
Mm.
trillionaires, a group of people are ruling and investing. It's also again something scary. We don't want to think that, we don't want our listeners and friends to listen that we are negative people. We just analyze analyze the things with the real data and the real implication that things are done, because most people are living their lives without knowing these things, without knowing that there is two corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard who actually owns everything.
Yeah,
And
and they have
this is something that we should think about it someday,
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, I think so. And in my previous career, I had a lot of compliance, basically competition law compliance courses. So we had to make sure that I worked for a company, a chemical firm, a U.S. chemical firm. We had to make sure that we were not going into price discussions with our competitors, because that could be seen as bringing disadvantages for the consumers, because you don't want there could not be any price fixing. And yet we have companies like Coca-Cola and PepsiCo, for example, are owned by the same shareholders, and that's fine. So you can have multiple players in a market owned by the same shareholders, and that's fine. But you cannot have one company becoming too dominant. Now, that competition law compliance in that sense misses something, that misses the ownership side of things. And I think this is one of the things that we also don't want with Bitcoin. You want it to become like a free market, basically, of individual, and ideally they're all retail investors like you and me. And
Mhm.
ideally your children would own a bit of Bitcoin and all that. And that gives us more freedom in future. the question is whether this will go this way or whether it will be BlackRock becoming a major shareholder like MicroStrategy, which they also own.
Absolutely. So there is the final thought of this episode. Are we going to be a civilization with freedom, or are we going into Black Mirror? This is all. We are the Dust Suckers, friends, listeners, podcast lovers, everyone who is in the other side. Please give a thought to this episode. Give us a follow up, thumb up, whatever. Like, subscribe in YouTube. Maybe one day when I learn to edit the YouTube videos, I will say subscribe over here. So again, thank you very much. This has been the 4th episode of the Dust Suckers, and we are so happy to host you again.
Yeah,
thank you.
I think in future we'll also try to invite some interesting guests. I think I have some ideas in mind already, and I'm sure you could as well. And then we'll see whether and give us some feedback on what you would like to hear, what topics, and we'll cover them next time hopefully.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joey. See you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Thank you, Ramon. See you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Yes. Bye bye.